A Ghost in Need, a spooky tale for brave young minds. Herman trudged along the sidewalk, the long white cloth of his ghost costume dragging on the ground. His little sister Anne walked next to him, a pirate hat sitting askew on her head. "I'm bored," Anne declared, glancing at her brother. "This street is boring." "Just one more house, Anne," Herman sighed. Anne squinted toward the end of the street. "Look," she said, pointing. "That house looks spooky. The really old one with the fence." Herman followed her gaze. A tall, black wrought-iron fence stood at the end of the block, with a grand gate that seemed to be twisted into intricate shapes. Behind it, a line of overgrown hedges partially hid the property. Herman could just make out the top of a large house with dark, shadowed windows. "I dare you to knock on the door," Anne challenged, a mischievous glint in her eye. Herman eyed the gate doubtfully, his heart thumping in his ears. Summoning his courage, he approached the gate, took hold of the iron bars, and pushed as hard as he could. Finally, with a loud groan, the gate opened. He stepped through and followed a winding stone walkway that snaked through an eerie, overgrown garden. After a short walk through the thick tangle of plants, he emerged in front of a large, mysterious house. It was shrouded in gloom. The windows were dark, but Herman had the strange feeling someone was nearby. He climbed the rickety steps to the porch and stood before the large, imposing door. He raised his hand and hesitated. Just as he was about to knock, a soft voice behind him said, "Hey, you have a costume just like mine." Herman spun around and saw a boy standing a few feet away, wearing a ghost costume identical to his. The boy's bright eyes twinkled through the eye holes. "My name is Milo," the boy said softly. "What's yours?" "I'm Herman," he replied, feeling a little less spooked. "Are you going trick-or-treating?" Milo hesitated a moment before responding. "I live here," he said, gesturing to the house, "but I can't get back inside. No one is home and I'm locked out." He paused, then added, "There's a spare key on top of the door frame, but I can't reach it." Just then, Anne's voice chimed in. "Herman, what's taking so long?" She stomped up the walkway, stopping short when she saw Milo. "Anne, this is Milo," Herman said. "He lives here, but he's locked out." Anne stopped in her tracks, clearly surprised. "Maybe you can help me get the key," Milo said, his voice soft and hopeful. Herman had an idea. He took off his long sheet, revealing his regular clothes underneath. "Anne, climb onto my shoulders. You can reach it." Anne, still a little hesitant, climbed onto Herman's shoulders. She stretched her arm up, her fingers just brushing the top of the doorframe. "I've got it," she declared, her fingers closing around an old, ornate key. She lowered it and held it out to Milo. Milo's hand reached out, and as Anne dropped the key, it passed right through his palm and landed with a sharp clank. Anne gasped, staring at his shimmering, translucent hand. "His hand is all misty," she stammered. Then, without thinking, she yanked off Milo's sheet. Beneath was empty space at first, but slowly a small, pale boy appeared, fading in from thin air before Anne's eyes. He studied them curiously, and he had a small, sad smile. Anne and Herman both screamed. The two of them scrambled down the steps and ran toward the stone walkway leading away from the house. "Wait," a soft, sad voice called from behind them. "Will you come back to visit me again?" Herman stopped short and turned. Milo hadn't moved. He awaited their answer, his eyes hopeful. "Anne, wait," Herman said, stopping his sister just before she reached the gate. Anne turned, her eyes wide with fright. Herman took a few steps toward Milo, then stopped and asked, "You're not trying to frighten us, are you?" Milo smiled. "No," he answered. "But you are a ghost, right?" Herman asked. Milo's smile faded and he looked down, seemingly embarrassed. "Yes," he answered in barely a whisper. Herman turned to Anne, who paused, then gave a slight, wry smile and shrugged. He then walked slowly back toward Milo, and Anne followed. Milo reached out to shake Herman's hand in gratitude. As their hands met, Herman felt a cold, tingly sensation, like a whisper of frost. Suddenly, a distant clock chimed 12 times. "We have to go," Anne said, a friendly but anxious tone in her voice. "I promise I'll come back and visit," Herman said, a smile on his face. Milo smiled back, his eyes no longer sad. Anne and Herman made their way back through the gardens. "Happy Halloween," they heard Milo call faintly. They walked down the stone pathway toward the gate, Anne dragging Herman's sheet. "He was just lonely, wasn't he?" Anne said. "Yep," Herman replied, "but now he has 2 friends." "Do you think he knows?" Anne asked. "About you and I? No, I don't think so," answered Herman. "We can tell him when we come back."